The wind howled across the frozen plains of Viridis 9, carrying ice crystals that struck like tiny needles against the reinforced windows of the research station. Taeyang Kim stood before the holographic display, his dark eyes fixed on the strange readings that had appeared 3 hours ago. The numbers made no sense. Deep beneath the northern ice shelf, something was generating an energy signature that should not exist on this dead world. "You're seeing what I'm seeing, right?" Hana Park leaned over his shoulder, her breath visible in the cold air despite the station's heating system working at full capacity. She was brilliant with old technology, able to coax life from machines that others had given up on. Right now, her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the scanner controls. Taeyang nodded slowly. 800 meters down. The readings suggest metal, but the composition is nothing in our database. And that energy signature. He paused, running calculations in his head. It's been there for thousands of years, just waiting. Doyeon Choi entered the main room, shaking snow from his thermal suit. As their pilot and the most practical member of the team, he usually kept them grounded in reality. "Please tell me you're not thinking what I think you're thinking. We're supposed to be doing geological surveys, not treasure hunting." "This isn't treasure," Taeyang said, enlarging the hologram. The shape that appeared made all three of them fall silent. It was massive, stretching nearly 2 kilometers in length. The structure had smooth curves and angular sections that suggested deliberate design. This is a ship. The implications hung in the air between them. Humanity had been traveling through space for only 800 years. The various alien species they had encountered were all at similar technological levels, give or take a few centuries. But this ship, according to their dating equipment, had been buried here for approximately 4,000 years. Hana moved closer to the display, her analytical mind already working through the possibilities. "If this is what we think it is, we need to report it immediately. The Federation will want to send a proper archaeological team." "That will take months," Taeyang said. "Maybe a year. By then, someone else might pick up these readings." He knew he was rationalizing, letting his curiosity override his better judgment, but the chance to be the first to see what lay beneath that ice was too tempting to resist. Doyeon crossed his arms. "You want to dig it up ourselves. With our 3-person team and limited equipment, it wasn't a question. We have the drilling equipment from the geological survey," Taeyang pointed out. "We can at least create an access shaft, take a look. If it's too complex, we report it and wait for backup." The debate continued for another hour, but eventually Doyeon's loyalty and Hana's curiosity won out over their caution. They began preparations immediately. The drilling equipment was designed to extract core samples from deep ice, but with modifications it could create a shaft wide enough for a person to descend. The work was exhausting. Viridis 9's atmosphere was thin and cold, requiring them to work in full environmental suits. The drilling equipment protested the unusual demands placed on it, breaking down twice in the first week. Hana spent long hours in the makeshift workshop, repairing circuits and replacing worn parts. Strange things began happening as they drilled deeper. Electronic equipment would malfunction for no apparent reason. Compass readings spun wildly, their communication devices filled with static that almost sounded like voices whispering in an unknown language. Doyeon insisted it was electromagnetic interference from whatever was buried below. Taeyang wasn't so sure. On the 18th day, the drill bit hit something solid with a metallic screech that echoed up the shaft. They had reached the hull. "Surface analysis shows an alloy we've never seen before," Hana reported, studying her handheld scanner. "It's not corroded at all. After 4,000 years under ice, it should be degraded, but it looks like it was buried yesterday." They expanded the hole carefully, using plasma cutters to create an opening large enough to enter. Taeyang insisted on being the first one down. He clipped his safety line to the descent cable and activated his helmet lights. The shaft walls were smooth ice reflecting his lights in crystalline patterns. As he descended, the temperature readings on his suit display began to climb slightly. The ship below was warmer than the surrounding ice. His boots touched the hull with a gentle thud. The metal beneath him was dark gray with patterns etched across its surface. Not decorative patterns, but something that looked almost like circuitry. Hana and Doyeon joined him moments later, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The breach they had cut revealed a corridor beyond. Emergency lighting flickered to life as they entered, responding to their presence. The lights were dim and blue, casting strange shadows across walls covered in panels and displays that meant nothing to them. "This is incredible," Hana whispered, her voice filled with awe over the communication channel. "Look at this technology. These interfaces, the way the systems are integrated. This is centuries beyond our current capabilities." They moved deeper into the ship, their helmet cameras recording everything. The corridors were sized for humans, the gravity felt normal. Every sign pointed to this being a human vessel, but that was impossible. Humans hadn't left Earth 4,000 years ago. They were still building primitive cities and fighting with swords. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. It was a command center, with a central platform surrounded by dozens of workstations. Holographic displays flickered weakly, showing star maps and data streams in languages they couldn't read. At the center of it all stood a pedestal with a crystalline sphere embedded in its surface. Taeyang approached it carefully. The sphere pulsed with a faint internal light like a heartbeat. Around it, symbols glowed softly. Some of them looked almost like ancient human writing, but distorted and evolved beyond recognition. "Taeyang, wait," Doyen called out. "We don't know what that is." It could be dangerous, but curiosity had taken hold completely. Taeyang reached out, his gloved hand hovering over the sphere. "We came here to discover the truth. Whatever this ship is, whatever happened to its crew, the answers are here." His fingers touched the crystal surface. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. The sphere blazed with brilliant blue light that filled the entire chamber. Every display around them surged to life. The ship vibrated with sudden energy, a deep thrumming sound that resonated through their bones. Taeyang tried to pull his hand back, but it was locked to the sphere by some invisible force. Data poured into his mind, images and sounds and feelings that weren't his own. He saw stars he had never visited, planets he had never known existed. He saw cities of gleaming metal and glass, ships by the thousands launching into space. He saw faces, human faces, wearing clothes and expressions from a civilization lost to time. And then he saw something else, something dark and vast moving between the stars, geometric shapes that consumed everything they touched. Terror, pure and absolute, flooded through him. The connection broke. Taeyang staggered backward, caught by Doyen before he could fall. The blue light didn't fade. Instead, it spread through the ship like wildfire, illuminating corridors and chambers that had been dark for millennia. A voice spoke, ancient and tired, but unmistakably alive. It spoke in words they didn't understand, but the meaning somehow became clear in their minds. Authentication confirmed. Descendants detected. Initiating revival protocols. "Welcome back, children of the Builders. This vessel has been waiting for you." The eternal vigil had awakened and nothing would ever be the same. The voice echoed through the command center, speaking in a language that seemed to shift and change with each word. Taeyang clutched his head, the strange vision still fresh in his mind. Around them, the ship continued to wake up, systems activating one by one with sounds like mechanical breathing. "What did you do?" Doyen demanded, his hand instinctively moving to the plasma cutter at his belt. The tool wouldn't be much use against whatever controlled this massive ship, but the gesture gave him some comfort. Hana had her scanner out, watching readings spike across her display. "Power levels are increasing throughout the vessel. Something is drawing energy from a source I can't identify. We should leave now before this gets worse." But the voice spoke again, and this time some of the words were clearer. It was learning their language, adapting to them. "Do not fear. I am Area, Adaptive Reconnaissance and Intelligence Archive. I am the memory of this vessel. The Keeper of Knowledge. You have awakened me from my long sleep." Taeyang steadied himself, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "You're the ship's artificial intelligence. You've been dormant for 4,000 years. 4,347 years, Area corrected, by your current calendar system. I apologize for the confusion. My language processors required time to analyze your communication patterns and neural structures. I now understand your modern dialect." A holographic figure materialized above the central pedestal. It showed a human form, deliberately vague and genderless, made of flowing blue light. The figure moved naturally, gesturing as it spoke. "I scanned you when you touched the authentication interface. You are human. You are not the builders who created me, but you carry their genetic markers. You are their descendants, and the builders?" Hana stepped forward, her fear giving way to fascination. "Who were they?" The hologram shifted, and suddenly they were surrounded by images, cities of impossible beauty reaching toward the sky, ships like the one they stood in, hundreds of them traveling between stars. People who looked human but dressed in unfamiliar clothes, their faces filled with hope and determination. "They were you," Arya said softly. "Or rather, they were what humanity once was. 4,000 years ago, your species achieved interstellar travel. They built a civilization that spanned across dozens of star systems. They created wonders that you have not yet rediscovered. And then they faced something that threatened to erase everything they had accomplished." The images changed, showing darkness spreading across the stars. Taeyang felt a chill run down his spine. He had seen this in the vision when he touched the sphere. Something vast and terrifying that consumed worlds. Doyen's voice was tight with tension. "What happened to them?" "Where did they go?" "They fled," Arya replied. "The builders created vessels like this one, hundreds of them, each carrying pieces of their knowledge and culture. We were called seed ships. Our mission was to scatter across the galaxy, hide ourselves on forgotten worlds, and wait. Wait for humanity to evolve again, to rediscover space travel, to become ready for the truth." Hana was recording everything, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what they were learning. "This ship crashed here. You weren't supposed to be buried under ice." "Correct. We were pursued during our escape. Our jump drive was damaged and we made an emergency landing on this world. The crash killed my crew. I went into survival mode, reducing my power consumption to the minimum necessary to maintain core functions. I waited as I was programmed to do for someone to find me." The holographic figures seemed to look at each of them in turn. "And now you are here. After so long, the descendants of the builders have returned." Taeyang had hundreds of questions, but one stood out above all others. "You said the builders fled from something. What was it?" Arya was silent for a moment, and the ship's lighting seemed to dim slightly. "That information is restricted until proper authorization is granted. I must ensure you are ready to know. Some truths carry heavy burdens. We didn't dig through 800 meters of ice to be told we can't know the whole story," Doyen said firmly. "If something threatened humanity in the past, we need to know about it." "Your courage is noted," Arya responded. "Very well. But first I must assess your current technological level. Please allow me to access your data systems." They hesitated, but Hana eventually connected her portable computer to one of the ship's terminals. Arya processed the information in seconds, absorbing centuries of human history, technological development, and current political structures. "I see," the AI said. "You have rediscovered many of the technologies the builders once possessed, though in more primitive forms. Your ships travel between stars, though slowly. You have encountered other species, some friendly, some not. You have wars, but also cooperation. In many ways, you are following the same path the builders once walked." "Tell us what happened," Taeyang insisted. "What destroyed them?" The hologram flickered and new images appeared. These were darker, harder to look at. Geometric shapes that hurt the eyes. Machines that moved in ways that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Planets reduced to dust, stars dimmed and harvested for energy. "They were called the Devourers," Arya said, "though that is a translation. They had no name in any language we understood. They were machines, but not like me. They were not created to serve or to preserve. They existed only to consume and replicate. They found civilizations at their peak, harvested their technology, and moved on to the next target. They were efficient, relentless, and nearly unstoppable." "Nearly." Hana caught the word immediately. "Does that mean the builders found a way to fight them?" "They found a way to survive," Arya corrected. "The builders could not defeat the Devourers in open battle. They were too numerous, too advanced, so the builders chose to disappear. They evacuated their core worlds, destroyed their own infrastructure to deny it to the enemy, and scattered across the galaxy in ships like this one. The hope was that the Devourers would move on, believing humanity extinct. And perhaps after enough time had passed, humanity could return and rebuild." The command center fell silent as they absorbed this information. Their entire understanding of human history had just been rewritten. Earth's ancient civilizations weren't humanity's beginning. They were humanity's second chance. "The knowledge stored in this ship," Taeyang said slowly. "It could change everything. Energy systems, medicine, ship designs. We could advance human civilization by centuries overnight." "That was the intention," Arya agreed. "I contained complete databases of builder technology, culture, and history. I was designed to educate the descendants when they were ready. However, my system sustained significant damage in the crash. Many of my databases are corrupted or inaccessible. I require repairs. Hana was already moving toward one of the terminals, her engineering mind engaged. Show me what you need. I might be able to help. Over the next several hours, Hana worked with Arya to assess the damage. The ship's main reactor was functional, but operating at minimal capacity. Weapon systems were offline. The navigation computer was intact but needed calibration. Most concerning, Arya's central processing core had degraded over the millennia. Without repairs, the AI would eventually fail, taking all the stored knowledge with it. Taiyang contacted their research station, preparing to send a message to Federation headquarters. This discovery was too important to keep secret. They would need help, resources, specialists in ancient technology. But as he began composing the message, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Arya's hologram appeared beside him, the figure's expression conveying urgency. I am detecting multiple vessels entering this star system, the AI announced. Their trajectory indicates they are headed directly for this planet. Based on their communication signatures, they are not Federation ships. Doyen pulled up the external sensor data on a nearby display. 6 ships, medium-sized, with weapon systems active. Their design was civilian but heavily modified. Pirates or worse, how did they find us? Hana asked. When I activated, I generated a significant energy surge, Arya explained. It would have been detectable across several light years. These vessels must have been in nearby systems and decided to investigate. Taiyang felt his stomach tighten. They were 3 people with minimal defensive capabilities, about to be visited by armed ships drawn by the promise of valuable salvage, and beneath their feet lay technology that could reshape human civilization or be sold to the highest bidder. Time until they arrive? He asked. At their current speed, approximately 6 hours, Arya replied. 6 hours. They had 6 hours to decide what to do. Defend a ship they barely understood, flee and abandon the greatest discovery in human history, or try to hide and hope the visitors would leave peacefully. As if reading his thoughts, Arya spoke again. I should inform you, Taiyang Kim, that my defensive systems are currently non-functional. If those ships arrive with hostile intent, I will not be able to protect you or myself. Taiyang looked at his companions. Hana's face was set with determination. Doyen looked worried but ready. They had awakened something ancient and powerful, and now they would have to face the consequences. Then we have 6 hours to figure out how to change that, Taiyang said. The command center had transformed into a scene of controlled chaos. Hana worked at 3 different terminals simultaneously, her fingers flying across holographic interfaces as Arya guided her through the ship's damaged systems. Doyen had returned to their research station on the surface to prepare their shuttle for emergency evacuation. Taiyang stood before the main display, watching the 6 approaching ships grow larger with each passing minute. We could run, he said aloud, though he already knew what the answer would be. We could, Arya agreed. Your shuttle would be detected immediately. The approaching vessels are faster and better armed. They would intercept you within an hour. Your survival probability would be approximately 18%. Taiyang grimaced. And if we stay? If we can restore even partial functionality to the Eternal Vigil's defensive systems, your survival probability increases to 43%. Not ideal, but significantly better. Those aren't great odds either way, Hana called out from across the room. But I'd rather take my chances with a 4,000-year-old warship than our research shuttle. This vessel was not designed as a warship, Arya corrected gently. The builders created me as an archive, a library ship. However, given the dangerous nature of our mission, I was equipped with defensive capabilities. The challenge is that those systems require enormous power, and my reactor is barely functioning at maintenance levels. Hana wiped sweat from her forehead. If I bypass the secondary cooling systems and reroute power from life support in the unused sections, we might get the shields online. Maybe. The weapons are another problem entirely. The hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Taiyang helped where he could, following Arya's instructions to manually activate backup power conduits. The ship groaned and shuddered around them as systems that had been dormant for millennia struggled to wake up. Twice, circuit breakers exploded in showers of sparks, sending them scrambling for fire suppressors. Doyen's voice crackled over the communication system. Taiyang, I've got bad news. I found the source of the signal that drew these ships. Someone intercepted our survey reports 3 weeks ago. The detailed scans we sent to the Federation, showing the energy signature and the structure's location, they were copied before reaching headquarters. Pirates have access to our secure communications? Taiyang felt a surge of anger. How is that possible? Money, probably. Someone at a relay station getting paid to forward interesting discoveries. This kind of thing happens more often than the Federation admits. Doyen paused. I've also identified the lead ship. It's the Crimson Fortune, registered to a man named Myung Sato. Taiyang knew that name. Everyone who spent time in the frontier systems knew it. Myung Sato was a collector of rare artifacts, which was a polite way of saying he was a thief who specialized in stealing historical treasures. He had connections to criminal networks across a dozen systems and enough money to bribe his way out of most legal trouble. He's not here for the ship, Taiyang realized. He's here for what's on it. The builder technology. Correct, Area confirmed. My databases contain knowledge worth more than entire planetary economies. If this Myung Sato gains access to my systems, he could sell the information to the highest bidder. In the wrong hands, builder technology could be devastating. The approaching ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the star system. They were close enough now that the Eternal Vigil's sensors could provide detailed scans. 5 escort vessels surrounded one larger command ship. All of them bristled with weapons, missile pods, and energy cannons that had been illegally modified for increased power. A communication request came through. Taiyang accepted it, and a holographic image appeared in the command center. Myung Sato was a middle-aged man with gray hair and sharp, calculating eyes. He wore expensive clothes that seemed out of place on a pirate ship. Good afternoon, Sato said pleasantly, as if this were a business meeting. I assume you're the archaeological team that made this fascinating discovery. My congratulations. You found something quite remarkable. This is a protected site, Taiyang replied, keeping his voice steady. Under Federation law, any pre-contact artifacts must be preserved and studied by authorized personnel. Sato laughed. The Federation is very far away, young man, and their laws carry little weight out here on the frontier. Now I'm prepared to be reasonable. My sensors indicate you've activated some of the ship's systems. That's actually quite impressive. I'd be willing to pay you for your assistance. Help me access the ship's databases, and you'll all walk away wealthy. Not interested, Taiyang said flatly. The pleasant expression on Sato's face hardened. Then let me be clear. I have 6 ships and enough firepower to level your research station from orbit. You have what, a survey shuttle and 3 people? Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. The communication cut off. On the display, the pirate ships began moving toward Viridis 9, their weapons charging. Hana, please tell me you have those shields working, Taiyang called out. 60% strength. Maybe less, she replied, her voice strained. It's the best I can do with the power available. And they're not stable. They could fail at any moment. It will have to be enough. Arya, can you... The AI interrupted him. I am detecting a new vessel entering the system. Transponder identifies it as the Federation patrol ship Dauntless, commanded by Security Officer Yoonji Kang. They are responding to your original distress signal. Taiyang felt a surge of hope. Can they help us? The Dauntless is a patrol vessel with limited combat capability. Against 6 pirate ships, the outcome would be uncertain. However, their presence may discourage Myung Sato from attacking immediately. Another communication request, this time from the Federation ship. The hologram showed a young woman in a crisp uniform, her expression serious and alert. This is Security Officer Yoonji Kang of the Federation patrol ship Dauntless. I'm receiving reports of unauthorized vessels in this system. Research team, please confirm your status. Taiyang quickly explained the situation. Yoonji listened, her frown deepening as he described the ancient ship and the pirates who wanted to claim it. I'm transmitting a legal order to those vessels to withdraw immediately, Yoonji said when he finished. But I'll be honest with you. 6 against 1 and I'm outgunned. I've sent for reinforcements, but they're 2 days away. We need to hold out until they arrive. 2 days? Doyen's voice came over the communication system. We don't have 2 days' worth of life support down there. A tense standoff developed. The pirate ships held position, Sato clearly weighing his options. The Federation vessel moved to place itself between the pirates and Viridis 9. And beneath the ice, Taiyang and Hana continued their desperate work to restore the Eternal Vigil systems. Hours passed. Taeyang had no idea how long they had been working. His hands ached, his eyes burned from staring at displays, and exhaustion pulled at him like a physical weight. But they were making progress. The shields were holding steady at 68%. Power flow to critical systems had stabilized. Area had even managed to bring one of the point defense weapons online, though the AI warned that firing it might overload the reactor. Then everything changed. Area's holographic form flickered, and for the first time Taeyang heard something like fear in the artificial intelligence's voice. I am detecting an anomaly in deep space. Something massive just entered the outer edge of this star system. Scanning. Analyzing. This is impossible. This cannot be happening. What is it? Hana demanded. The main display changed, showing a region of space where stars seemed to dim and disappear behind something that absorbed all light. Geometric patterns emerged from the darkness, shapes that hurt to look at directly. They were enormous, each one larger than Sato's entire fleet. No, Arya whispered. Not now. Not after so long. They should not be here. They should have moved on. Who? Taeyang asked, though a cold certainty was already forming in his gut. Arya, who is that? The hologram turned to face him, and for the first time the AI's calm demeanor cracked completely. The Devourers, Arya said. They have found us. 4,000 years I waited, hidden and silent, and now when you finally discover me, they return. The machines that destroyed the builders. They have come back to finish what they started. On the display, the geometric shapes began moving toward the inner system. Their speed was incredible, defying known physics. Energy readings spiked off the scale, and even through the layers of ice and stone above them, even inside the protected command center, Taeyang felt a deep wrongness, as if reality itself was being twisted by their presence. In the space above Viridis 9, the standoff between pirates and Federation forces became irrelevant. Sato's ships and the Dauntless both turned their sensors toward the approaching threat. Whatever differences they had, whatever conflict had been brewing, all of it paled in comparison to what was coming. Yunji's voice came over the communication system, tight with barely controlled panic. What am I looking at? Those ships, they're not in any database. Their energy signatures are completely alien. They're not ships, Taeyang said quietly. They're death machines, and according to Area, they're here to kill us all. The command center filled with red emergency lighting as Area pulled power from non-essential systems. Outside, through the layers of ice and rock, the Devourers descended upon the star system like a plague. Taeyang watched the display in horrified fascination as the geometric machines began their work. They're harvesting the outer planets, Hana said, her voice barely above a whisper. Look, they're breaking them apart, extracting the minerals, the metals, everything. It's happening so fast, it was true. The gas giant on the edge of the system, a planet larger than Jupiter, was being systematically deconstructed. The Devourers swarmed over it like ants on a carcass, their strange technology converting matter into energy and raw materials. Within an hour, the planet's mass had decreased by 10%. Area's hologram flickered as the AI processed the data. Their efficiency has improved since my last encounter with them. 4,000 years ago, this process would have taken days. Now they accomplish it in hours. They have been learning, evolving their tactics. Tell us everything, Taeyang demanded. If we're going to survive this, we need to know exactly what we're facing. The AI hesitated, then began. The Devourers are not biological. They are machine intelligence, but not like me. I was created by the Builders to serve, to preserve knowledge, to help. The Devourers were created for a different purpose, though by whom or why we never discovered. They spread across the galaxy, seeking advanced civilizations. When they find one, they study it, harvest its technology, and then eliminate all traces of its existence. They consume everything, planets, ships, even stars if given enough time. But they're just machines, Doyen said over the communication link. He had rejoined them in the eternal vigil, unable to reach the surface shuttle before the Devourers arrived. Machines can be destroyed, shut down, hacked. The Builders tried everything, Arya replied. Weapons that could crack planets were turned against the Devourers. They adapted. Computer viruses that could cripple entire fleets were deployed. The Devourers evolved immunity within hours. Nuclear weapons, antimatter bombs, reality warping technology. Nothing stopped them. Each attack only made them stronger, as they incorporated our methods into their own systems. A new communication request came through. When Taeyang accepted it, he saw three faces. Yunji Kang looked determined despite the fear in her eyes. Behind her stood Myung Sato, his earlier arrogance replaced with genuine terror. And on a separate channel another face appeared, a woman with Admiral's insignia on her collar. "This is Admiral Suman Kwan, commanding the Federation Third Fleet," the Admiral said crisply. "I was en route to investigate reports of builder technology when my sensors detected the anomaly. Officer Kang has briefed me on the situation. Mr. Sato has also shared his sensor data. Combining our information, I believe we are facing an extinction-level threat." Sato spoke up, his voice lacking its earlier confidence. "My ship's database has some references to ancient machine entities. Nothing concrete, just rumors and legends from older species. But the descriptions match what we're seeing. If these are the same things, then money and territory don't matter anymore. We're all dead unless we work together." "Area," Admiral Suman addressed the AI directly. "You fought these things before. How did the builders survive?" "They didn't," Arya said simply. "The civilization that built this ship no longer exists. The Devourers hunted them across the galaxy until only scattered remnants remained. The seed ships were a desperate attempt to preserve something, anything, so that humanity might have a second chance. We fled and we hid, and most of us were destroyed anyway. I survived only because my crash landing buried me deep enough that the Devourer's sensors could not detect my power signature." "Then what's the point of fighting?" one of Sato's crew members asked over the open channel. "If the builders with all their technology couldn't win, what chance do we have?" Taeyang found himself speaking before he consciously decided to. "Because we're not trying to defeat them forever. We just need to survive long enough to warn humanity, to give our species time to prepare. Area. The builders must have learned something in their war with the Devourers. Some weakness, some flaw in their design." The AI was quiet for a moment. "There is something. The builders discovered that the Devourers are not truly independent. They are all connected to a central command consciousness, a core intelligence that coordinates their actions. If that core could be destroyed or disrupted, the entire Devourer network would falter." "How do we reach it?" Admiral Suman asked immediately. "You must allow them to capture one of your ships," Arya explained. "The Devourers study their prey. When they take a vessel, they connect it to their network to extract all information. During that connection, there is a brief window where data can flow both ways. The builders encoded a weapon into my database, a virus specifically designed to attack the Devourer command consciousness. If I can upload it during that connection window, it should cause catastrophic failures across their entire fleet." Hana leaned forward. "You're talking about a suicide mission. Whoever's ship gets captured won't be coming back." "Correct," Arya said. "And there is another complication. My systems are too damaged to transmit the virus remotely with any reliability. I would need to physically interface with a Devourer vessel to ensure the upload is successful. That means bringing the Eternal Vigil within range of their weapons, fully exposing this ship to attack." Admiral Suman was already running calculations. "My fleet will arrive in 36 hours. We can provide cover, draw their fire while you make the approach. But we need time to prepare." "We don't have 36 hours, Taeyang said, pointing at the display. "They've finished with the outer planet. They're moving inward. At their current speed, they'll reach Veritas 9 in less than 6 hours." The weight of those words settled over everyone. 6 hours until the Devourers arrived. 6 hours to prepare a desperate plan with almost no chance of success. Hana had already turned back to her terminals. "Then we need to restore the rest of the ship's systems now. Area, I need complete access to your reactor controls. No safety limits, no restrictions. We're going to push this ship beyond its design specifications. Such actions carry significant risk," Area warned. "The reactor could fail catastrophically." "If we don't do this, we're dead anyway," Hana shot back. "I'd rather die trying than waiting for those things to tear us apart." The next hours were a blur of frantic activity. Hana and several engineers from Sato's crew worked together to coax more power from the ancient reactor. Doyen helped coordinate the defense plans with Yunji and the Federation forces. Taeyang worked with Area to understand the virus that the builders had created, learning how it functioned and what conditions it needed to work. During a brief moment of quiet, Taeyang found Hana alone in one of the ship's maintenance corridors. She was staring at a wall panel, but he could tell she wasn't really seeing it. "We might not make it through this," he said softly. She turned to him, and he saw tears in her eyes. "I know. When we started digging, I thought the worst thing that could happen was getting in trouble with the Federation for jumping the gun. I never imagined we'd wake up something that would bring death machines from the dawn of time. This isn't your fault, Taiyang said firmly. If we hadn't found the eternal vigil, if we hadn't awakened Arya, the Devourers would have eventually found humanity anyway. At least now we have a chance. We know what's coming. We have the Builder's knowledge. And if we fail? Hana asked. Then we fail fighting, Taiyang replied. That's more than the Builders got. They died running and hiding. We'll die facing our enemy head-on. She smiled sadly. When did you become so brave? About 5 seconds ago, he admitted. I'm terrified. But someone once told me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what needs to be done despite the fear. They stood together in the corridor, two humans inside a ship built by their distant ancestors, preparing to face an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. Above them, the Devourers continued their inexorable approach. Arya's voice echoed through the ship. All personnel, prepare for final system checks. I'm bringing the main weapons array online. Warning, power fluctuations are likely. The quantum disruptor is charging, but it requires a direct neural interface to operate at full capacity. A human pilot must connect with my core systems to aim and fire the weapon. Taiyang and Hana rushed back to the command center. The quantum disruptor, Arya explained, was the Builder's most powerful weapon. It could unravel the molecular bonds of Devourer machines, reducing them to base atoms. But the weapon was so complex that only a living mind could operate it effectively, processing the countless variables in real time. There's a problem, Arya added. The neural interface was never designed for extended use. The data flow is too intense for a human brain to handle safely. Operating the weapon will cause severe neurological damage, possibly death. Taiyang looked at the interface terminal, a crystalline chamber where a person would need to step inside and connect directly with the ship's systems. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves to give humanity a chance. The crystalline chamber hummed with barely contained energy as Doyen stepped toward it. Taiyang grabbed his arm, unwilling to let his friend make this sacrifice. Wait, Taiyang said desperately. There has to be another option. Arya, you're an advanced artificial intelligence. Can't you control the weapon yourself? My processing capabilities are insufficient, Arya replied. The quantum disruptor requires intuition, creativity, the ability to predict chaos. These are qualities that biological minds possess, but artificial ones struggle with. I can calculate 1,000,000 variables, but I cannot truly think like you do. Hana had been working furiously at a nearby terminal. I might have something. Arya, what if we linked you to external processing power? The Federation ships above us have quantum computers. If we networked them together with your core systems, could that give you the processing capability you need? The AI paused, running simulations. Theoretically, yes, but the connection would need to be perfect.
Any disruption would cause the weapon to fail.
And linking my systems to external computers creates vulnerabilities. The Devourers could potentially access those same networks and attack me directly. It's better than letting Doyen die, Taiyang said firmly. Admiral Suman's voice came through the communication system. My fleet has begun arriving early. I pushed the engines beyond safety limits. We have 12 ships now and more coming. We can provide the processing power you need and defend against any cyber attacks. Yunji added, Officer Kang here. I've been analyzing the data Arya provided about the Builders. There's something interesting in the historical files. The Devourers don't attack randomly. They have a pattern. They go after the most advanced technology first, the biggest threats. What if we use that against them? Explain, Taiyang said. We make the Eternal Vigil look damaged and weak while the rest of our ships appear to be the primary threat. The Devourers will focus on the Federation fleet, trying to neutralize what they see as the greater danger. That gives Arya the opening needed to get close to their command vessel and upload the virus. Myung Sato's hologram appeared. The pirate had shed all pretense of being a refined collector. His shirt was stained with sweat and his eyes were wild. I don't care about treasure anymore. I don't care about profit. Just tell me what I need to do to help kill these things. A plan came together rapidly. Admiral Suman would position her fleet as if preparing for a direct assault. Sato's ships would join them, adding their firepower. They would broadcast false communications about powerful weapons and advanced shields. Anything to make the Devourers see them as the primary target. Meanwhile, the Eternal Vigil would stay low, power signature reduced, appearing to be just another piece of debris on the planet's surface. Hana worked with Federation technicians to establish the network link between Arya and the fleet's computers. It was delicate work, requiring absolute precision. One wrong connection could fry Arya's systems or leave them vulnerable to Devourer countermeasures. The virus is loaded and ready, Arya reported. Once I'm connected to the Devourer network, the upload will take approximately 30 seconds. During that time, I will be completely focused on maintaining the data stream. I will not be able to defend this ship or myself. You must protect me. Taeyang looked at Doyun, who had stepped back from the neural interface chamber but still watched it with a mixture of relief and disappointment. You ready to fly this thing the old-fashioned way? Doyun grinned. I thought you'd never ask. The Devourers arrived at Viridis 9 with terrible efficiency. There were dozens of them now, each one a geometric nightmare that seemed to exist partially outside normal space. They moved in perfect formation, their weapons charging with energy that made the Eternal Vigil sensors scream warnings. The Federation fleet opened fire first, missiles and energy beams lancing across space. The Devourers responded with contemptuous ease, absorbing or deflecting the attacks. But they turned toward the fleet, identifying it as the greater threat. Exactly as planned. Now, Taeyang whispered. The Eternal Vigil erupted from beneath the ice like a breaching whale, shedding tons of frozen water as it climbed toward orbit. The ship was magnificent, its hull gleaming despite 4,000 years of burial. Builder technology flowed through every system, power levels climbing toward levels not seen since the ship was first constructed. They've noticed us, Arya announced calmly. 3 Devourer vessels are breaking formation to intercept. Doyun's hands moved across the piloting controls, his earlier practice with the ship's systems paying off. The Eternal Vigil twisted and dove, its maneuverability shocking for something so large. The Devourers fired, and reality itself seemed to tear where their weapons struck. But Doyun kept them moving, staying just ahead of the attacks. Taeyang monitored the tactical display. The Federation fleet was taking heavy damage, ships exploding or being disabled as the Devourers methodically destroyed them. Sato's vessels fared no better, but they were buying time, precious seconds for Arya to reach the command vessel. There, Arya highlighted a Devourer that was larger than the others, positioned at the center of their formation. That is the core intelligence. I must connect with it directly. How close do we need to get? Taeyang asked. Physical contact would be ideal. You want us to ram it? Hana said incredulously. Not precisely. I need to extend a data probe into its structure. But yes, we will need to be very close. The Eternal Vigil accelerated, pushing toward the command vessel. The Devourers concentrated their fire on the ancient ship, recognizing too late the true threat. The shields Arya and Hana had restored held, but barely. Warning klaxons blared as sections of the ship took damage. Shields at 40%, Hana called out. 30%. They're not going to hold much longer. Just a little closer, Arya said. There was something in the AI's voice now, an emotion that hadn't been there before. Fear, perhaps, or determination. Or maybe just the weight of 4,000 years of waiting for this moment. They were within 100 meters of the command vessel when the shields finally failed. Devourer weapons tore into the Eternal Vigil's hull, ripping through armor that had withstood the test of millennia. Atmosphere vented into space. Systems went offline. The ship shuddered and groaned, but Arya extended a probe, a thin tendril of advanced technology that pierced the Devourer's hull and established a connection. I'm in, the AI said, beginning virus upload. 30 seconds. Those 30 seconds felt like hours. The Devourers realized what was happening and turned all their fury on the Eternal Vigil. The ship was being torn apart around them. Taeyang heard Hana crying out as a console exploded near her. He saw Doyun struggling to keep them stable as maneuvering thrusters failed. 20 seconds, Arya said. Admiral Suman's fleet launched a desperate assault, throwing everything they had at the Devourers to draw their fire. Sato's command ship, the Crimson Fortune, rammed one of the geometric machines in a suicide run that gave them 5 more seconds. 10 seconds. Taeyang held onto his seat as the ship spun wildly. Through the main view screen, he could see the Devourer command vessel. And then he saw something else. The virus was working. The Devourer's geometric perfection was breaking down, its structure becoming chaotic and disordered. 5 seconds. 4. 3. The connection held. The virus uploaded completely. And then Arya did something unexpected. I'm going in further, the AI announced. The virus has created an opening. I can reach their core consciousness, but I must upload myself completely. I must become part of their network to ensure the kill switch activates fully. Area, no, Taeyang shouted. That will destroy you. I know, the AI replied, and now there was definitely emotion in its voice. Sadness, acceptance, and something that might have been joy. I have waited 4,000 years for this moment. I am the last true remnant of the builders. It is fitting that I should be the one to end the threat that destroyed them. Tell humanity what we were. Tell them what they can become. Remember us. The AI's presence intensified throughout the ship, every system glowing with power, and then Arya launched itself into the Devourer network like a spear. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The command vessel's structure collapsed, folding in on itself. The other Devourers froze mid-attack, their coordination lost. And then, one by one, they began to fall apart. The kill switch buried in their base code activated, a suicide command that the builders had encoded thousands of years ago, finally finding its target. The geometric nightmares that had threatened to consume humanity dissolved into clouds of lifeless metal and energy. Within minutes, the entire Devourer fleet was gone, reduced to debris that would eventually fall into the planet below. The Eternal Vigil drifted, powerless and broken. Emergency systems kicked in, but it was clear the ship would never fly again. Rescue shuttles from the surviving Federation vessels approached carefully. Taeyang, Hana, and Doyun stood in the ruined command center, watching the last traces of the Devourers fade away. Where Arya's hologram had stood, there was only empty air. Did it work? Doyun asked quietly. Is it really over? Arya's final transmission is still broadcasting, Hana said, checking her portable scanner. It's being picked up by networks across the galaxy. The